What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune into the channel and you check out the content. And with that being uh, said, I want to get into Kevin Hart, the roast and everything, and because Kevin Hart is taking a lot of pushback and a lot of flack for some of the things that was said at the roast, right? I thought this would be a good opportunity for me to just give my thoughts on why athletes and entertainers do not control their they don't control their brand, right? And so I decided to add Kevin Durant and LeBron James in this because they go about trying to control their brand in different ways, right? For instance, Kevin Durant will have he will get a burner phone and go on to like social media platforms to try to combat some of what he don't like that's saying bad about him, or to get certain points across on these little burner accounts, right? So that right there is a it's just a simple example of how Kevin Durant goes about it, which it's not successful because as you see, Kevin Durant always get exposed. They always find out, that he have a burner account. And so LeBron James, he has they have Clutch Sports Management, they have publicists, and they use him and his friends, they use social media too also, right? But again, they don't really have final say or complete control over their brand, right? Like for instance, if ESPN or the powers to be wanted to put a narrative or something out there about LeBron James, even though he is a billionaire, like he would be, it wouldn't have any effect on what they wanted to put out there against LeBron James. And so same thing goes for Kevin Hart. Like Kevin Hart has a media business and everybody is talking about his media business. At one point in time, they said it was worth like $600 million or something like that. And I just thought it was kind of funny to have a media business when you can't even control, like you want to help people cultivate, you want to help people improve their brand when you basically with $600 million you don't even really have control of your own brand. And so and that ties into this roast that he just did where people say, well, Kevin Hart is selling out, you know. And so I want to listen to this video. I found this video and it was speaking about Kevin Hart. What is it? The Jaguar right experiment. I thought this was a really good video. I'm not sure if this was Jaguar right on here talking with a guy, and they was talking about Kevin Hart and what was said at the roast. So let's play the audio. I do want to stop it from time to time because I want to add my input, but I just thought that this conversation was very interesting.
They throwing around a whole it was a huge humiliation ritual is what it was. And it's wild because, and salute to Cheryl Underwood, I don't think her jokes were all that funny. She just spent a lot of time talking about, you want this black pussy, and you want this, like, I think, what did she tell, like, I would have to say like 80% of she had to say was all pussy jokes about how everybody
you
wanted
got
to
a
have
point.
sex with her.
Yeah, you got a point.
Like, I don't
Yeah.
see that as funny. I don't see that as funny. I think what we really just like, I think what we saw and what we were feeling was, damn, they ran down on you all night. They talked about you. They turned you into Celie from The Color Purple. This was Kevin Hart's roast. And the truth is, she got slammed harder than Kevin Hart did.
And so even comedians, people who make a living talking about everybody else and joking and stuff like that. Like they fall victim to this, right? Now Cheryl Underwood is one of the funniest comedians. I think I like Cheryl Underwood. Who are not just female comedians, but I do like Cheryl Underwood. She is extremely funny. I like what's the other young lady? Some more. I like some more also, right? I think they are two very funny comedians. I don't care, men or women. I just like, Cheryl Underwood and some more. But it do seem like when you go to these roasts and stuff like that, they just, they say some degrading things about you and everything, and it's all supposed to be in the spirit of, like, we love you and we just joking with you, just and lightheartedness and stuff like that. But I never really got into those roasts or anything like that. I just never really got into it.
Like, right. I don't think anybody's paying attention to that. Cheryl Underwood got slammed harder at Kevin Hart's roast than Kevin Hart did.
And let me just say this, like sometimes these entertainers, and they just be so thirsty to stay in like in the good graces of certain people and the higher ups, that they allow themselves to be put in this type of position where somebody is just, they're going to say the most degrading things about themselves, and then they're going to allow other people to say the most degrading things about them. And like I said, if you can control your own brand, right, and what is put out there about you, no way you will allow something like this, to happen.
Like, it was wild. It was like, and all of the white comedians, they got their turn. The only one that gave her a little bit of grace was Chelsea Handler. And Chelsea Handler, all night long, they just talking about how many, deletions that she did, and her sticking with 50 Cent and what a whore she was. And she was just so happy to be a whore because she was just like, it was I don't know. I don't know.
I guess behind a lot of them jokes, there was some truth. A lot of that, like you said, humiliation stuff. Yeah, I'm sorry. You're not finna disrespect me, making jokes. The Rock making jokes about like I'm a cuck. Nah, I'm good. Like, ugh.
No, he said we're gonna put you in your cuck high chair. So
see, and you have to go through this type thing once you become like in the public, because that's how you make your money, right? Like I said, if you're an athlete or an entertainer or an actor or something like this, you really don't have any choice but to go through this, because you want to stay. These people want to stay in the good graces of, whoever's at the top making decisions, right? So, you had people there who you would like The Rock. I wouldn't expect him to be there. What's the other young lady? Regina Hall. I wouldn't expect her to be there or something like this. But people, they, like I said, they just so thirsty and want to stay on top. Even when you had somebody like Kevin Hart, who's allowed himself to be, like this guy is saying, joking about having sex with his wife, like, that's, the Rock is joking about that, but that's some things are off limits, and they just try to make it seem like like he have a sense of humor and stuff like this, don't bother him. But I can guarantee you that the guys that Kevin Hart are close to, like the guys, his friends, like the Paper Cup Boys, I think they call, like none of those guys, like if they were sitting around, say they sitting around at night watching TV or maybe just playing cards or something like that, not like these kind of jokes would not come up. And these are the kind of jokes, I mean, and those guys are really close to Kevin Hart, right? They know stuff about Kevin Hart that most people don't know. Nowhere in the world I can see any of those guys joking with Kevin Hart like this about him and his wife.
You can watch me beat the brakes off your wife with this big old Samoan, half black and half Samoan, like, come here, suck on my areola. Like, is nobody not seeing exactly like how like gay that whole thing was? Like it was. I mean, I can understand why The Rock was there because the truth is, Kevin Hart got famous doing movies with The Rock. Like that's when he became a household name, being The Rock's sidekick. And it's
Yeah.
wild because while he's sitting there talking about Cat Williams' career, you've spent your whole time in Hollywood playing humiliating roles and sidekicks. He has been in a dress. He has been held like a baby. He's a grown man wearing a bib. Like he is the poster child. And Cat was right about that. No, you have never said no.
And you know what? I do remember Kevin Hart in that movie he played with what's the guy with The Rock, and The Rock held him in his lap like a baby. That was crazy. Kevin Hart also said at one point in time that he would never wear a dress, and like months after that or weeks after that, they had him on Saturday Night Live in a dress. So that right there just shows that once you go into the entertainment field and you get used to making that money and you are in a certain lifestyle, they will threaten to take all of that stuff away from you. And no matter how much money you make, Kevin Hart is a prime example of it, that you will not be able to control your brand. Like the only way you can control your brand is to not even put yourself in a position to, number one, I guess, not go into show business at all or entertainment at all, because no matter what Kevin Hart, Kevin Durant, or LeBron James do, they can't really defend themselves against the powers that be when it comes to controlling your brand. So that was what you would have to do. Other than that, I think you just have to. It would just be almost impossible unless you try to like fly under the radar. But I don't know any actor or any entertainer or any athlete that would be able to control their own brand.
You'll do anything. And then it's wild because through the whole show, he's sitting there. Yeah, because I'm sponsored and to my brand partnership people, and to this, and to Chase, and to this, and to this company, and to that company. I didn't realize how many companies own his ass. Like he's probably a bigger endorsement whore than Beyonce.
Well,
and so think about that, right? All these athletes and entertainers are just pitchmen. They just pitchmen. Like Kevin Hart has a they can really talk about this. He built a what is it, like a media company, right? But if the powers that be decide that they don't want to do business with you, or they don't want your media company to grow, then they can just freeze you out and you won't get any work. And that's what, in my opinion, happened with Kevin Hart and this media company. But they get ready to go into this, and let me play what they get ready to say about his media company.
Get into that. Let's get into that, because that's kind of where I wanted to take this conversation. Now, you guys tell me if I'm incorrect, and you can pause me when you want, Jag, because I'm going to break down this article that came out in Bloomberg a day after the roast. So, it's about celebrity brands. It's about private equity. It's about Black media ownership. It's about the Hollywood contract. It's about employee layoffs and what happens when a company is built around one superstar's name, but the superstar starts moving his brand somewhere else. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because employees of Heartbeat are calling chaos. Now, this is according to Bloomberg. There's an article. You guys can go to Bloomberg and check it out. They said there's chaos inside Kevin Hart's media company, Heartbeat. And now the company has reportedly been struggling after once being valued around $650 million. The article reports that Heartbeat had gone through layoffs, executive exits, slowed production, canceled or stalled projects, and internal anxiety over Kevin Hart's new deal with Authentic Brand Group.
Yeah, this it's crazy. Like I said, this guy had a media company worth 600 million and can't even control his own image, right? And that's not a knock on Kevin Hart. It's just an example of like how much control these entertainers don't have. You know, like it would think you would think that 600 million or being a billionaire like LeBron James is, like you would have control over your image and you don't, right? Even take for instance like Oprah Winfrey, she have the own network, but she don't have a lot of say or leeway when it comes to how much, like what content that she's able to produce. Because if certain content or certain content that she try to put out there, if it's not liked by, you know, like the higher ups, then, you know, like she'll have to go out of business. It's you know, she don't have total control. And so, you know, and so it's just so many examples of that. Like once you become, you in that field, you are a pitch man. Like Oprah is a pitch man. Michael Jordan, you know, somebody told me years ago when I first heard like Michael Jordan is he a pitch man. Charles Barkley is a pitch man. Um, Meaning that they pitch and promote and sell somebody else's products, right? Now I think like Michael Jordan do have that the NASCAR thing where he make money at, right? But I think the bulk of his money, like how he was able to finance the NASCAR thing, is through, you know, the tennis shoes, that like his deal with Nike, and also you know, they have sponsors and stuff like that. But still, if sponsors go away and Nike go away, and he wouldn't been able to finance that stuff, basically, you know, you are a pitch man.
Authentic Brands Group. So the biggest point is some of the current and former employees reportedly believe Kevin Hart's deal with Authentic may be a signal, the beginning of the end for Heartbeat. So the deal gives Authentic a role in managing Kevin Hart's brand, his name, his image, and likeness, while Hart also becomes a shareholder in Authentic. Heartbeat employees are reportedly concerned because endorsement deals once were a major part of Heartbeat's business. Now they're being handled through Authentic instead of Heartbeat. What do you?
Like, and that's what he just said, like endorsement deals. Like once those endorsements go away and you try to finance, and that's how they get you, right? You know, Kevin Hart, you want to invest in starting up a big media company and use your popularity and your celebrity to start this. And when you first started out, you know, when he first started out, he had endorsements, right? And I think it's all by design, and it's all a setup. Once they have you on the hook and you sure enough and you fully committed to this thing, they pull the rug from under you, and next thing, then you have situations like this where the company is falling apart. And basically, I don't care how much money you have, they can basically turn you into a consumer. Once, like I said, once those sponsors go away and partnerships go away and people stop doing business with you, and you feel like you on your own, and you, all right, now you want to come out your pocket, right, out of your money instead of the sponsors and stuff like that, then they got you. You know, they basically just draining your pockets little by little.
What do you have to say about that?
I think what I have to say about it is it's just proving the point that I've been making. I do not believe that any of these people are what they try to make the public believe they are. I do not believe that any of this is real. You know, when he bought Ball Busters for his brother back in Philadelphia, where we all grew up shooting pool, and when the pandemic came, 40 kind of disappeared, and the story around Philadelphia is that he was playing, you know, in the US Open for amateurs going professional billiards, which I did a little research, come to find out that that was a lie, because all of a sudden it was, well, people were threatening to kidnap him because of his brother. And this was all around the time of that car accident. And I don't know when the last time anybody seen 40. And apparently, this management company was hired to come in and run the pool hall. So it was so funny because listening to this report talking about how he was supposed to become CEO, but then all of a sudden you don't see him around.
All right, so you kind of get the point, right? Like I said, even when you like with Puff Daddy and you know, and what was that, Ciroc, and they come to find out Puff Daddy was just a pitch man for that. Years ago, when I found out, like when what was the clothing line that they had, Puff Daddy, Sean John, when I found out that that was being backed by investors, and he didn't really fully own Sean John. So it's, I don't know, man. I just think that, especially like for minorities, when they get to a point, and they realize, or they think that you want to take control of your career and you want to step up and stuff like that, they'll set stuff up like this, traps, just to milk you out of your money. And you want to start these big media companies, you want to start studios. They'll use your dreams basically to bring you down. Your dreams and your ambitions. Be like, all right, cool. You have relationships, you got money, you got resources, right? Start these businesses and stuff like that. Tyler Perry had these big studios, and hopefully, man, Tyler Perry studio be able to, to make money and things like that and survive. But I think it's basically, in my point of view, I just think it's just all a setup. So the money that you make throughout your career, basically, you're a target, and they just finesse you out of your money. You because $600 million is a lot of money, and people talked about like the campus. Like, I think Kevin Hart had 3 different areas that he was operating out of. He had I think he was set up in California, somewhere in California, Atlanta, and maybe somewhere else. It costs money to, to have a media company, and you got 3 different locations, right? It just costs money. And I think actors, if anybody going into the entertainment business, I just think that they have to be aware of this type of situation. They just finesse you out of your money, man, and you wind up, a lot of the money that you made throughout your career, no matter what level, any actor or entertainer or athlete you look at, once they turn you into somebody who's just a consumer, man, and and that's basically what you are. You're just a consumer. And I think, and not to knock people, but to be honest, so people know how to move, and how to prepare themselves for this type of situation moving forward, because you wind up, like I said, getting finessed out of your money, and you are a big target, especially minority, athletes and entertainers. They always say, well, you mismanaged your money, and you had failed businesses and stuff like that. It's all a scheme, for real, in my opinion. So that's my take on it. Shout out to Jaguar Wright. I thought that was an interesting conversation that she had. I don't know who the guy was who was, who was on the platform with her. But shout out to Jaguar Wright. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to leave a comment. And with that being said, man, I'm gonna check y'all out in the next video. Peace.